All right, guys, chapter 13. We are doing cart and theme storage. I am just going to get right back down to business. We're going to be trying to type and talk again. Let's hope that I don't mess it up. So we are going to be changing up our toggle theme at first. We already are getting the element by the ID, but we also want to make this theme check is what I'm calling it, because it's kind of how I'm using it, where we go in and we try to get the item from local storage, and you'll see how I'm using that in just a moment. But I also want to go ahead and start working on these cart items that we have. So up here we made these spans before, if you remember, for the cart count and the cart total. We are going to be taking those and we are going to be making these dynamic checks for them. So we are going to be looking for the cart count, and that is going to be a query selector for the cart count. And then we make the cart amount, which is a query selector for that. And then we are going to bring the cart in. So we want to make the cart, and that is going to be trying to parse the JSON that we are going to be getting out of local storage here. And we're using that same getItem method to be looking for the key of cart. Very inventively named, I know. And if we don't find it, we're just going to make an empty object instead. So then we are going to take that and we are going to be setting the inner text of that cart count that we made before. And that's just going to be looking for the keys inside of this object, which is going to be each of the items. And it's going to be seeing how many of these keys that we have, and that is going to be the cart count. And then we are going to be looking at each of the values of those keys. And that is how we're going to be making the cart amount, which is going to start off with a dollar bill and then take those object values, and from them we're going to map through them and take each item and look at the items .product.price and multiply it by the item quantity to see, how many items, how much is it price, multiply those together, you have the amount of the cost. And then we are going to take each one and we are going to say, add them together starting with 0. And then we want to make sure that we don't have any crazy decimals. We just want to make sure we only have the 2, because there's only 2 cents that you're allowed to pay with. And that is how we find the cart amount. And then we are going to keep moving. Let's use this theme check that I called it earlier. And you'll see why I'm calling it a theme check, because we're going to go and we're going to see if there is a theme in local storage. And if there is a theme in local storage, then we want to change the class name of the theme, of the body, because remember we're just doing the whole body with the theme, and we'll change that class to the theme check. And otherwise it's going to be our standard theme of dark, which we really shouldn't need to do this, but it's we need an else for this ternary, so this will be dark. It's going to be that otherwise, but we, if the theme hasn't been chosen by the user, then we'll make sure that that is still the case. Underneath of this, we are going to be making a new event listener for our toggle theme, because we can finally get rid of this ugly one that we made. Let's go up here and let's make this into a new function. And so the way that this function is going to work is that we are going to check to see what the current theme is. We could probably just do the theme check here again, but I have it written this way, so I'm going to do what I have written here. I may have just forgotten to refactor this. And so it's going to be checking for the theme, and if not, it's going to be making sure that it's dark. Once again, we are just double checking. And then from there, we are going to say that there could be a new theme whenever you press this button. And the new theme is going to say that if the current theme is still dark, then we want to change it to purple. But, oh my god, it's killing me with that. But if the current theme is purple already, then we want to change it to green. And then if all else fails, it's just going to be dark. And so then that's going to be our new toggle theme function. But we want to make sure that afterwards we are setting the local storage. And so the way we do that is just going to be setting the key of theme to the value of the new theme, which is going to be whatever we just defined up above. And then we go ahead and make sure it is set to the body, whatever one of those CSS themes that we defined before. And then let's go ahead and save this to make it pretty. And that is our new toggle theme function. And that takes care of that. We have a lot more functions to make though. So we are going to go ahead and scroll down. We need to make a component for our cart. We have all these other components, but remember whenever we did our routes, we just did this. So let's go ahead and predefine this as a cart component, and then let's make it. So let's do it about the 404. I kind of like having that as the last one. We are going to say const cart, and this one's going to be asynchronous too, because we are going to be getting our products, because we want to display our products in the cart to show what the people have in their cart already. So we're going to await our asynchronous get products function, and then we are going to check to see if we have some things in the cart. So if the cart's length is 0, that means that there's nothing in the cart. So we're just going to render up a little template here that we're going to define, and that template is going to say carts. Your cart is empty. Go buy one of our awesome 2 items. Otherwise, that means that there is something in the cart. So we want to check what those things are. Alright guys, I apologize, but my narration kind of drops off here, so my voice isn't going to match my mouth from this point on. What we're doing here is we're looking inside the cart, and then looking to find which products are in the cart by mapping through it, and then looking to see which IDs match the products that we have from the get products function. And then we are going to render some HTML. So we are going to return the HTML the same way that we did on the products page. We are going to go through and just make some HTML for each part, and then the cart itself is going to render everything by joining them together. Yeah, and as you can see, I sped up this part because honestly, some of this code gets pretty repetitive. I mean, you kind of know what I'm doing, and I mess up this quotation mark, and I spend like 3 seconds fixing it, and then I get annoyed, but oh, where am I? I'm lost. Oh, let's fix that. Okay, then we finally move on. So yeah, as you can see, speeding this up just made it a little bit better for all of us, but I still want it to be technically possible for you to type along. So feel free to mute me here, and then feel free to type it. I mean, I can play some nice little keyboard here for us. Or not. Maybe not. Okay, so anyways, we are checking inside the cart to see the product ID, and we are going to label the amount that is in the cart, the quantity of that product ID. Then we're going to make a button for each product ID, and we're going to label the ID, I mean, it just makes sense, with that product's ID. And then from there, we just want to put a label, a quotation mark issues yet again. And then we want to make sure that we have the label button properly labeled so you know what it does. Close the button out, close the div out, and then that's the HTML for each one. We want to make sure we close out the literal as well with that tick. And then from there, we want to go underneath and actually render that. And so we are going to go through and render an H1 that says where you are. And what I should have actually done a document.title here as well as saying you're on the cart page. I think I forgot to do that. And then we go and we are going to join all of these cart items together the same way we did on the product page. And then run our remove button finder. And that is the cart page. But so we have to do this button finder function on each of our product pages. And this is going to make it so that our cart actually works. The buttons were not doing anything beforehand. This is going to make them actually work, but we actually need to create these functions. And as you can see, these functions are going to be pretty similar. So we need to make an add to cart function to actually put onto the buttons. And that just looks to see if the product is already in the cart. And if it is, then it's just going to increment the quantity upwards. And otherwise, if it's not in the cart yet, then we are going to create an item for that cart's product ID, for that product ID in the cart. And we're going to say the quantity is now 1 because it's obviously not in the cart yet. And then we want to put the product in there. And I forgot to put the comma in there. Went back and fixed that. And then underneath that, we are going to make sure that we set the cart in the local storage. So we look for the key, and we just stringify the data we just created. And then we alert the user, let them know, hey, we just added this product to your cart. The button worked, yay! And then we update all of the HTML on the page, all of the dynamic HTML that we have here, which I realized after I typed all of this over and over, I should have probably put into a function that did it for me, but it was too late. Slowly but surely, I realize all of these typos. Look at that double X. I can't spell values. I figure it all out at the end. And so this is just another different way of doing the cart amount. It's a little bit more explicit. I probably should have done it that way on the top too. So we're making the remove from cart function now, which is the exact opposite of the other function. It just decrements the quantity if it's already in there. And then it's going to check to make sure that that quantity is not now 0 after it decrements it. And if that's the case, we need to get it out of a cart entirely. All you gotta do is just delete it. That word does exactly what you think it does. And then from there, we want to update our local storage, make sure it says what we have here. And we're going to alert the user that we removed that from the cart. And finally, we are going to re-render the cart and do all of this exciting HTML stuff. It's really, really fun watching me type this. Let me tell you what. At least I spelled text right that time. But then I'm like, oh, let's copy and paste all this. And finally figured that out. But unfortunately, values is still misspelled, and that doesn't get fixed just yet. And so we need to make our finder functions. These are going to run when we render the product component. The button finder add is going to be on the product component and the products component. And it's just going to go through, look, and find every one of these buttons that are labeled with the add to cart class. And it's going to check to see if it already has an event listener. And if that's the case, then it's just going to return. Otherwise, then we are going to say, hey, this has an event listener now. And then go ahead and add the event listener, which is on click, waits for that event, and then on the click event, it says that the target's ID is now the product's ID, which we are going to find by doing this find array method here. And apparently, oh yeah, that's right, I got the argument wrong. Slowly but surely, we do the find method and check to find the product that matches the ID. And with that, we run that add to cart function that we just did. Now we do its polar opposite with the button finder remove function. And I would almost skip through this, but I want you to see me typing it. It's the exact opposite of the other one in that it's just looking for, well, I mean, really it does the exact same thing. It's just what function it runs when it finds these buttons that have those IDs. The problem is, I guess I could make a function that took an ID as an argument and then returned. I mean, I think you're doing repetitive code either way. So it's just a matter of, you think something that does two different things that very similarly. There's a lot of repeated code here. And it's part of why I sped it up. I feel like this could be refactored, but I've already spent enough time on this project. It's doing the exact same thing, as you can see, looking for the product, matches the ID of the target, and then now we're doing the remove from cart function with the product instead. And then that is everything. And as you can see, I am glad to be done. I click on it and I'm like, no, it's not working. And I bring up the console. I see, okay, that's easy. I just did object.key instead of object keys. So we find that and S. And I'm like, that's got to do it, right? Okay. Oh, the button. And my brain's slowly processing this error. I cut out about 45 seconds of me clicking back and forth before I finally see that I misspelled object.values. And then I'm like, wait, but it's spelled right there. And then I realize that I look at the line and I see, oh wait, it's the other one. Boop. And you can see my face gradually becoming less angry, but still slightly annoyed at myself. But now, as you can see, everything works perfectly. The amounts are all correct. And the numbers are all correct. You remove it, everything's perfect. And that's this lesson.